Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast, where tonight we're digging into issue number 8. We're taping this on the 16th. We're literally 6 days away from veterans reporting and the 2025 NFL training camp really getting going. Football season's almost back. What an exciting time of year. Today on issue number 8, we're going to discuss, again, the 8th issue that's really facing the Raiders going into training camp, and this is linebacker harmony. Now, if you look at this roster, the weakest position, in my opinion, is corner. The second weakest is linebacker, and the third weakness is only because of youth, wide receiver. Now, linebacker is a little bit different than wide receiver and corner because there's a lot of talent in that linebacker room, but you got some guys coming back from injuries. You've got some guys who are young, but there's quite a few bodies there, and you can realistically have high expectations that that room is going to perform at a very reasonable level. Now, no secret, I've stated this before, the biggest mistake and loss of the offseason for the Raiders was Robert Spillane leaving. I've made it very clear I don't blame that on Spytek or Carroll. I put that more on institutional instability, and I don't blame Spytek or Carroll for that. But that is going to be a significant loss that's going to hurt the Raiders. That said, putting that on the side burner, the reality is if you were going to try to fill the shoes of Spills, Elandon Roberts is straight out of central casting. Same background as Spills with the Steelers. They did not want to lose him, but just like with Spills, there was a wealth of talent there, so they could afford to not have to pay him a big free agent deal. He comes to the Raiders. This is a man, an exceptional character as a human being, a great person, a tremendous work ethic, a very hard worker, and even though there hasn't been pads, he's already demonstrated significant leadership already in that locker room. He was a very good addition for the Raiders. Again, if I'm picking Spills or Landon, I'm taking Spills. But if Spills is off the table, there's no complaints from me that you got a Landon Roberts. The loss of Spills is not a reflection of him as a bad player. Like Spills, huge upside character-wise, huge upside as a person, huge upside as a leader, huge work ethic. Landon Roberts was a great signing. As bad as the lack of signing of Spills, the other end of the extreme is the positivity of an Landon Roberts. A very good signing. Next, we come to a guy that has played at a very high level. Tremendous human, great hard worker, leads by example. All of his career, I have been a Devin White guy. I liked him coming out of college. I liked his vision. I liked his ability to see all the things that he does. He was injured. Now they believe he's 100% healthy. If the Raiders get the Devin White of old with Landon, I think their linebacker core will be better than last year. And they had Spills because I think the sum of the parts will be better. I mean, Devin White is a tremendous football player. You had him with a tremendous Landon Roberts. That 1-2 punch, woof, woof. There's some talent there. That's why you got to develop harmony. You got to develop harmony. But you really got some talent there. Next, you come into Tommy freaking Eichenberg. This is a guy that he hasn't even hit that money place yet. But he's super talented. a year under his belt of learning the NFL, learning a system. This guy could be a humongous future building block for this team. I love Tommy freaking Eichenberg. Work ethic, character, locker room, great guy. There's nothing about Eichenberg not to like. If you don't like Tommy Eichenberg, it's because you're a Wolverine. Period. You look up the word tough in Webster's dictionary, it says see Tommy freaking Eichenberg. The epitome of tough. 2 broken arms and he's playing against Michigan. Guy's tough. Did he do as much last year as I thought he did? No, I thought he would have done a little bit more. But he also was a guy adjusting, had to get to 100%. I love this guy. I'm a buyer on the freaking Eichenberg. I love this guy, but again, young player, huge amount of talent, has to step up. Next, Amari Gaynor. Y'all know exactly what I think about Amari Gaynor. Y'all know exactly where I'm sitting on this train. Not the same, but I had a front row seat. I know Carl Banks. There's a lot about his game that reminds me of Carl Banks. Amari Gaynor and Tommy freaking Eichenberg, that is a very nice. You got Devin White and a Landon, and these 2 guys behind him. Just a couple of young pups trying to become dogs. I like it. I like it a lot. I like the way Amari sees the field. I think he struggled a little bit thinking too much, which is normal in very high intelligent players. You see it with Tommy Eichenberg. There's that adjustment. But as the game slows down, they'll play more instinctive, which is where Tommy and Amari shine. Next, Jalen Smith. I like him. I like him. I like him. I'm trying to put my thought process together. I'm trying to, how would I verbalize Jalen? There's something about the kid. He's got the it factor. He's got that that ability to see the field. He's got that ability to play off of it. He's got that ability to just make adjustments. I really like Jalen. I like the way that that he moves. I like, okay, when you watch him, you're like, okay, I see it. I see it. It makes sense to me. This guy can play, and I like him a lot, and I expect him to do well. Now, next is a guy that I think's going to make the roster, Michael Barrett. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Michael Barrett is a guy that at Michigan, they loved him. And I know a lot of people on that staff and in that program. This guy can play in the NFL. He's another guy, he's got to prove some stuff. But Michael Barrett's an NFL football player. Michael Barrett belongs in the National Football League. This guy can play here. He can play here. I like him. I like his game. I like the way he operates. Now, I want to talk to you about another guy. Jermaine Pratt. This is a experienced guy. I like that. I like that, bringing in some experience. You got some young guys, and then you come in and you're getting more proven guys. This is why linebacker, you've got some proven guys that have to prove it again. Not a Landon. He's already proven it, and there's been no drop-off. But you got Jermaine, You've got Devin, guys that got to prove some stuff. Then you got Jalen and Barrett, got some stuff to prove. Then you got some of them young pups. I like this Raider linebacker group. Going into the season, absolutely question mark. Going into the season, it is a position of concern. But I'm telling you, I think it's going to be fine. When this season's over, I think we're going to be able to look back and say linebacker room went like this. Going to have great coaching. But the thing is we're betting on what they call in Vegas, betting on the come. Or you're betting on the river card. You got some young pups. You got an experienced anchor in a Landon. Then you got some other guys, some veterans that got to show up again or show out. But it's not like it's a room void of talent. It's not that. And so as you start looking at this, it says a lot. It says an immense amount about what you have. It shows a team that has got a lot of talent. They've put a lot of talent in that linebacker room. Now, they have to demonstrate it. But I fully expect them to. Now, let's talk about why I use the term linebacker harmony. The Raiders' deepest place on this team is that defensive line. Deep, talented, strong, big, dominating. And so they're going to run a lot of 2 linebacker sets. They will run a fair amount of 3, but they're going to run some 2. So now it's not as big as a concern if you're running 2, other than you got some concerns at corner. But when you look at this team and you analyze it, Landon's got to learn all the verbiage, which we talked about yesterday. And then it's getting people in the right spot. You bring in some new coaches. It's guys learning. Then they're having to learn. These 3 new guys are having to learn what it is Patrick Graham wants, what the linebacker coach is looking for. So it's just going to be how quick can they get this up to harmony. Now, one advantage that they have is Landon Roberts is already on the same page with Patrick Graham. He and Patrick are already in harmony. That's a big deal. That's a very big deal. And so when you look at that fact, now it's going into training camp. How fast can they get this thing off high center and get it moving? Now, an advantage of having all those veterans, and especially Pratt's the same way. Hard worker, great guy, tremendous work ethic. When you're bringing in veterans where you're not wondering about character, work ethic, skill level, locker room presence, you're already ahead of the curve. It's why I feel so good about the linebacker position. I feel tremendously well about the linebacker position. And do I think going into camp it's a question mark? I sure do. But how good I feel is telling you I don't think coming out of the season it's going to be. That's major. And so when you look at how they're piecing this whole thing together, here's where harmony comes in. Your backers have to be able to communicate to the men in front of them. They've got to be able to communicate to the men in back of them. They've got to understand all the nuances of the new look defense. All of the new linebacker coach learning Patrick Graham and getting it all on one page. My concern here is more preparation, and not that any of them are lazy, than it is going to be production. As big of a loss as Spills was, when you look at the talent that they brought in at linebacker, John Spytek deserves a lot of credit. If you're a Raider disappointed in the loss of Spills, it's institutional instability, not Spytek. But when you look at what he brought in, that should give you a big smile. That should make you, yet again, Spytech showed you what he's going to do. He didn't talk about it, he was about it. And he put together an incredibly solid room. Yup, there's some if ya, could ya, should ya, would ya. The only anchor in that room is a land. Do I think Devin's an anchor? I do. But he's going to have to show his health. I think he will, so it's not a concern. But until he does, it's reality. Jermaine, same situation. He's got to show he's there. Jalen and Barrett got to take that next step. And Tommy freaking Eichenberg and Amari Gaynor, the pups have to become dogs. But this room has to develop linebacker harmony. Big, big deal right now. And they got to hit the ground running. I mean, as soon as they hit the ground, bam. It started in OTAs and minicamp, but training camp is football for real. And when the pads come on, for sure. Hey, make sure you're following me at Hondo Carpenter on Dexter says goodbye. At Hondo Carpenter on Twitter, at Hondo SR on Threads and IG. And please, we are pumping out the content to you. SI.com/NFL/Raiders. We appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.